seen before collection of photos that stem from the last 15 years. And for me personally, I wanted to get involved because I'm not a part of hip hop directly. I'm not a rapper, obviously, or anything like that. But I've been in the business and been around the business. So to kind of see what these guys have done and how they've taken.
Hello, everyone. You won't believe the excitement I've been hearing about this book. It's turning out to be an absolute page-turner, so buckle up, because we're about to embark on a remarkable journey together. Those who can't get their hands on the book, don't worry. I'm here to read it aloud for you. It's a quick read, so we'll get through it in no time. If the buzz around this book is as real as it seems, I truly hope that the profits are directed toward a good cause. Before we dive into the story, I want to make it clear that this reading is purely for entertainment purposes. Your support means everything to me, and I appreciate you joining me on this adventure. So let's jump in and discover what all the hype is about. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Stay tuned for more exciting content. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Wishing you all a fantastic day. Now let's get started with the book. I'm really looking forward to exploring this tale with you and uncovering what the excitement is all about. Your thoughts are always welcome, so don't hesitate to share them in the comments. Together, we're about to embark on this incredible journey. But before we get into the story, there's an important disclaimer to address. One of Kim Porter's final wishes was for this memoir to be released, aimed at safeguarding certain individuals and their possible criminal activities. Some celebrities, performances, and events have been portrayed with exaggerated details due to the sensitive nature of this content. Eventually, this information will be made public. Regarding Kim's unexpected passing and the mysterious health issues involving Albie Shaw and Jamie Foxx, there's evidence suggesting foul play and possible poisoning. God bless Kim Porter and all of Sean Combs's victims, both male and female. Alright, that was the first page. Now on to Chapter 1. Introduction. After high school, I found myself diving headfirst into the world of modeling. I was taken aback by how quickly everything began to unfold. It was like a dream. Amid this whirlwind, I met my husband, the father of my oldest child, and one of my lifelong friends, Albie Shaw. Our romance was nothing short of a whirlwind, and I couldn't have imagined the incredible journey that lay ahead. I was just 19 when I tied the knot, and no, it didn't work out quite as I had hoped. However, Albie Shaw remains one of my closest friends to this day. Our son, Quincy, is truly a remarkable and talented young man. Back then, I had no inkling that my relationship with Al would lead me to the man who would become such a significant part of my adult life. This man was someone I would love and cherish, but ultimately come to fear and loathe. I don't want to rush the story, but I must confess that, despite being aware of the reality of our situation, I often turned a blind eye. It's time to confront this truth. Deep down, I understood what was happening, yet I lied to myself repeatedly. He was incredibly charming, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, a true devil, and I fell for his facade. This story needs to be told, even if it means causing pain to my children. I can no longer keep it hidden. Sean Combs must be held accountable. Chapter 2. Humble Beginnings. I was born to loving parents, Jake Porter and Sarah L. Porter, in the beautiful Peach State of Georgia. Throughout my time at Columbus High School, graduating in 1988, I felt destined for fame. In the 10th grade, one of my closest friends, Tina, told me, "You won't make it here in Georgia." It struck me then that if I truly wanted to achieve my dreams, I would have to leave behind my hometown and the state I loved. That conversation was pivotal, and in hindsight, it completely changed the course of my life. I met Al while working in the industry, and he was incredibly charming, just so cool. I developed quite the crush on him. Before I knew it, we were married, and soon after, Quincy was on the way. However, I was still young, and I sensed that our relationship might not stand the test of time. There were some heated moments after we separated, but we moved past them fairly quickly. He's genuinely a great guy, and an amazing father. Although we went our separate ways, we remain forever connected through Quincy. Thank you, Al. I will always hold a special place in my heart for you. When I first met Sean, I thought he was just another guy at the label. Cool, but nothing remarkable. Uptown Records was huge at the time, and we were all living our best lives. But Sean kept showering me with charm, and before long, we found ourselves dating. As a young single mum at one of the hottest companies in the world, life seemed perfect. And then it got even better. My boyfriend was rising to even greater heights. Sean was the kind of guy who could easily charm you. He was so cool and captivating until suddenly, the demons within him would reveal themselves. Sean and Clive were always hanging out, but I didn't think much of it. After all, Clive was his boss, and Sean was involved in some pretty significant ventures. I even made a video discussing Clive and the other mentors who played a role in Diddy's life. You should definitely check it out. I'll link it in the description of this video for you. Then came the moment that changed everything. I have to admit, I was a bit adventurous. I really enjoyed exploring new things with my partner. Toys were one thing, but I never expected to be dating a guy who asked me to use a toy on him. When he first suggested it, he claimed he just wanted to experiment, to try something new. Honestly, I was taken aback and grossed out, but he kept insisting. He assured me it would only be this one time and that he was simply curious. I was only 20, so I thought, what the hell? But let me tell you, I hated every second of it. Things got messy, and after that incident, I decided to distance myself from him. Chapter 3. Second Chances. Despite my attempts to ignore him, Sean continued reaching out. Eventually, after a few weeks, we crossed paths again at an event. He approached me and took a seat beside me. We were polite to each other. He complimented me, saying, "You look amazing." I managed to respond with a simple, "Thanks, Sean." As I tried to leave, he grabbed my arm. I turned to face him, and he gazed deeply into my eyes, saying, "What happened between us was strange, but I really care about you." He paused for a moment. I seized the opportunity to make my escape, pulling my hand away and saying, "Sorry, Sean, I really have to go." Then he dropped the bombshell. "Please, I think I'm falling in love with you. Can we talk?" My breath caught in my throat. Did he just say he loved me? Everything was happening so fast, and I had no clue that this was just another one of his manipulation tactics. Not yet, anyway. Oh, I was so young and naive. He continued, "Let's have dinner." I fell for it. Just 2 days later, we met up for drinks at a lounge in Lower Manhattan. The place was nice, and Sean was really pulling out all the stops to impress me. He even pulled out my chair like a true gentleman. As he sat across from me, he smiled and said, "Look, I hated what happened between us. I never want to go through that again. Please, give me another chance." The next morning, over coffee, I decided to give him another shot. For the next year and a half, things felt relatively normal. It was fun, everything was going great, and we were living out the dream I had envisioned since my youth. Sean was busy working on Bad Boy, and he had started bringing in his first few artists. He kicked things off with Craig Mack and then signed a rapper from the West Coast named Notorious B.I.G. His collaboration with some of the biggest names in hip-hop was truly a remarkable time. Everything seemed perfect. Then, out of the blue, he asked me to revisit our past encounters. "Baby, I can't stop thinking about it," he insisted. I was taken aback. "What are you talking about?" I shot back. "It's just that night," he continued. "It was incredible. Can you, screw me one more time, please?" My anger surged. "Why don't you go to Clive? He's the one screwing you, isn't he?" In a shocking turn, he struck me hard across the face. Before I could process what had just happened, he began to plead, cradling my cheek where he had hit me. I turned and ran, and I knew that should have been the end of it. But for some reason, I was drawn back to him. He sent me flowers and extravagant gifts, attempting to win me back. We eventually crossed paths again at another industry event. As he sat beside me, it felt like deja vu. "Imagine running into you here," he said, trying to engage me. "Get the hell away from me," I spat out. But his demeanor shifted. He became serious. "Look, baby, I'm sorry," he said. I shot him a glare, cutting him off. "There's nothing you can say to me. Nothing." After a heavy silence, he added, "You know I love you. I love your son. He's my son too. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll do anything. I'm so sorry." It was hard not to see the sweetness in his words. Here we were again, caught in this cycle of love and pain. Despite everything, I missed him. As he stood to leave, I heard myself say, "Call me later." What was wrong with me? Chapter 4. Forgiveness. Sean showed up with flowers in hand, eager to see Quincy. He had a natural way with him, and when Quincy rushed over to hug him, my heart melted a bit. "How you doing, Tiger?" he asked. Quincy, with his innocent smile, replied, "I'm good. I miss you." Sean's response felt genuine. "I miss you too. We'll hang out tomorrow, okay?" "Okay," Quincy said, and Sean playfully tapped him on the backside as he headed toward his bedroom. There I was, looking at the man I once loved. Yet, I couldn't shake the memories of his violent outbursts. He not only had strange desires, but had also slapped me. So why was I still engaging with him? They say love is blind, but does it also make us foolish? As Quincy left the room, Sean looked at me with a smile and said, "Baby, let's go have some fun. The babysitter is on the way. I just want to show you a good time." I felt so frustrated with myself for feeling that flutter of excitement as I replied, "Okay." We settled on the couch, laughing and genuinely enjoying each other's company when the doorbell rang. The babysitter had arrived, and so we left. As we exited the house, a big man climbed out of the limo and opened the door for us. He wore a sharp suit, with a gun noticeably tucked under his arm. I thought to myself, he could have made it invisible. Or did he want me to see it? Despite my reservation, Gene was a sweetheart. He was very courteous and polite as he tipped his head and said good evening. Ma'am Gene drew a smile out of me as I responded, "Hello, Gene, and I will see each other a lot after this day." Chapter 5. Sean kneels. The year passed, and thankfully we didn't have many bad arguments, although Sean was strangely getting into voodoo you. He would put curses on people, and I wasn't sure how to respond to that craziness. My problem as a single mother was I wanted to be married. He always had excuses and delays when it came to committing to marriage. His label was blowing up. Biggie dropped, and it was just about over. He also signed Mary J. Blige, and of course when I found out he slept with her, we fought. He claimed it was a mistake, and my stupid ass took him back again. Sean asked me for a threesome with her. At first I was mad, but Mary was beautiful. It was our first threesome and I loved it. Mary was sexy. I would not be doing this a lot, but it was so hot. I was young, and exploring my sexuality was enticing. Over the years, we brought other women into our bedroom periodically, and we were happy. This is until one day I came home to a situation that went from awkward to a nightmare. Quincy was with the babysitter, and Sean was sitting with, I'll be sure, at the dinner table. I had a child with Al, and Sean was the father in Quincy's life. The awkwardness of all of us being together had dissolved a long time ago, but it was still weird that they were here in my home together alone. I sat down and we had drinks. It was fun, the conversation was cool until it wasn't. I was a little loose after a couple of drinks. I remember him saying, "It's still weird seeing you with my friend, but you're happy, so I'm happy for you guys." Sean responded, "Thanks, man. Me and you, we've shared so much." I replied coolly, "Words." The conversation took an odd and awkward turn when Sean said we all been together sexually, but not together. Yeah, the atmosphere grew tense for a moment as silence enveloped the room. "What do you mean by all together?" I asked, trying to grasp what Sean was suggesting. Al shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but Sean was unflinching. "You know how sometimes we invite other people into our bed," he said casually. I couldn't believe my ears. "Oh, hell no, Sean, this is my son's father." I felt a surge of anger. Then Al spoke. Something so unexpected it left me reeling. "I don't know. It could be kind of hot. I miss you in that way." Despite my disbelief in Sean's proposition, I still cared for Al, and the idea was undeniably enticing. But I couldn't shake the worry. What if this ruined my relationship? And how would it affect Quincy? "Are you both sure?" I asked, imagining the two of them with me. I knew this would be awkward. There would be some awkward moments, bumping and shifting, but I was trying to wrap my head around it. What happened next was beyond my wildest imagination. Al, and then his ex, stepped forward. I was in shock. I couldn't process it. When I looked at Sean, I felt the need to escape. I ran out of the room. "This is too much! I can't do this!" I gasped. Sean called out to me, "Oh, come on, Kimmy." They didn't chase after me, and Al took the initiative. I was left reeling. "Geez, Louise," I muttered to myself, trying to shake the images from my mind. I needed distance from Sean, but I knew this wouldn't be the last time I encountered him in such compromising situations. Chapter 6. Pop. Biggie had taken over the East Coast hip-hop scene, and Sean was the genius behind it all. He hired top-notch talent to teach Chris how to flow and craft his lyrics, bringing in the best producers for the beats. While he claimed credit for the music, he was also navigating a world where he was sleeping with influential figures in the industry. Everyone who aspired to make music wanted to be part of Bad Boy, and Sean was making connections that were both strategic and scandalous. He had affairs with power players in the industry, men whose names most people wouldn't recognize, but who had the authority to decide who succeeded and who failed. Sean hosted lavish parties that served as a facade for orgies, and the allure was irresistible to many. During the time when Sean and I were in an open relationship, I ended up sleeping with Tupac. He was undeniably sexy, and surprisingly, Sean didn't mind at first until he attempted to pull Pac into our dynamic. That's when the tension between Sean and Tupac escalated. Pac was not interested in Sean's advances. He was straight and made it clear he was annoyed by Sean's behavior. One night, we were all at Sean's house, drinking and relaxing. The atmosphere was chill, with everyone passing around smoke. Sean strutted in, clearly feeling himself. "My baby is bad, isn't she?" he said, looking at me. Pac flashed me a sly smile, and I couldn't help but blush. Sean was clearly in his element. "You think you hit it better than me?" I couldn't believe Sean disrespected me like that. I was not about to let this slide. "Sean, what the F?" Before I could say more, Pac jumped in to defend me. "Damn, bro, you ain't gotta do the sister that way." I could see the frustration in Tupac's eyes, but Sean was relentless. "I think my dick's bigger than yours. I bet I can make her come faster than you." "What's up?" Pac was taken aback. "What the F are you talking about, nigga? I ain't trying to run no effing train." Sean pushed back. "What, you scared? Let's see who's better. Let her be the judge." Sure, we had been inviting others into our bed for a while, but this disrespect was a new low. I was furious. "I will not stand for this," I shouted. Pac echoed my sentiment. "Nigga, you talking about pulling your effing dick out?" But Sean wasn't fazed. "What, you scared?" At that point, Tupac just walked away, and the tension between them escalated from that moment on. It became uncomfortable for me. They couldn't be in the same room without it feeling like an impending fight. Months went by with the atmosphere thick with animosity. Then one day in the studio, everything changed. I walked into Sean's office and overheard him speaking with Jimmy Henchman. "Pac, don't leave that effing studio alive," Sean said. I immediately froze, realizing I wasn't meant to hear that, but I carried on as if nothing had happened. "Hey Sean, good morning. Jimmy, I'm here," I said, trying to keep my tone casual. They both seemed unfazed by my presence. "I'm ordering breakfast," I added, trying to act normal. Sean replied, "Let me get eggs sunny side up with grits and orange juice." I could see he was hungover. Jimmy, however, didn't seem interested in food. As he stood to leave, he nodded to Sean. "Let's make that happen," he said, then turned to me. "Kim, always a pleasure." He winked, and then he walked out. I was in shock. Once outside, I made my way back to my area, hoping I didn't look as pale as I felt. I wasn't in the studio that night when Pac was shot, and I was grateful for that. From what I understood later, Sean and Chris saw Pac after he was shot and did nothing to help him. In a twisted turn of fate, after being shot, Pac made it to the elevator, desperately trying to escape. But the doors opened on the floor where Sean and Chris were. They saw him lying there, bleeding out. They didn't call an ambulance despite the clear need for help. That silence would haunt Pac, making him believe they had placed a hit on him. For Pac, this betrayal was unforgivable. He didn't recover well. He lost a testicle but somehow survived. It was clear that everything pointed back to Sean Combs as the orchestrator of this chaos. At this point, I realized I had to escape from Sean, but fear gripped me. He would take my life if I tried to leave. One February evening, I thought I found my chance during dinner after an event. We were at an upscale restaurant tucked away in a private booth. It was a lavish setup, just the two of us, but surrounded by the public. Perfect. As Sean settled into his seat, he was on the phone with someone I couldn't see. His words during that call are etched in my memory forever. "We're gonna release Hushacha now," he said, pausing for a response. He continued, "Of course, they don't think Big was talking about Pac. That's the whole effing point. Nobody would care about a diss track aimed at LL Cool J. Do you know how much money we'll make off this rap beef? Niggas battling after someone really got shot?" I felt a chill run down my spine. This was not the time for this conversation. Sean wrapped up his call saying, "We drop that shit tomorrow." He listened intently before adding, "There's gonna be blood in the street. Niggas missed. Pac's alive. Let's capitalize on that shit." He turned to look at me, his gaze piercing. "I'll call you back," he said into the phone before hanging up. "What's wrong?" I forced a smile, my heart racing. After all, I had been intimate with Pac. "Nothing," I replied, hoping to deflect his suspicion. Sean was no fool. "Are you sure?" His demeanor was menacing, and I summoned all my strength to maintain my composure under his intense stare. "Yeah, of course," I managed to say. He took my hand, squeezing it tightly, almost painfully. "That's wonderful," he said, his voice dripping with false sweetness. "Seeing you walk into the office while I was talking about killing that mother effer had me a little concerned." His grip tightened, and pain shot through my hand. "You're hurting me," I gasped, but he continued to squeeze. "Your pretending you didn't hear anything is a sign of your loyalty to me. Not something I should worry about, right?" Trapped, I knew I had to give him the answer he wanted. "Of course I'm loyal to you," I replied, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. He finally released my hand, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. "Good! And remember, I'm the big dick." I snatched my hand back, wincing from the pain. He grinned and said, "Let's start with a good wine." He snapped his fingers, and in an instant, his favorite wine was poured for him. The staff knew exactly what he wanted, and Sean always got his way. I felt the weight of my reality crash down on me. I was trapped. Now was not the time to execute my escape plan. I had to be strategic. Leaving behind the glamour and glitz of this lifestyle wouldn't be easy. After all, this man had just snapped his fingers in one of the most exclusive restaurants in New York City, and they brought him his drink of choice. The bottle of wine was $800, and this was 1994. The waiting list to get into this place was 6 months long for anyone who was anyone. Mayor Giuliani was at a table nearby tonight. If I got up and walked out, I might find safety, but what about tomorrow? I had to think fast. Sean sipped his wine, a smile creeping across his face. "You're not drinking?" he asked, pointing at my glass. Of course, the waiter was quick to fill it. They knew my preferences too. Sean had a temper. He yelled sometimes, and yes, he had roughed me up once or twice, but he never punched me, never left bruises, and most importantly, he never laid a hand on Quincy. I wouldn't have tolerated that. At that moment, I never considered that he might harm my son in any way. Then it hit me. Was he mad at Tupac because of me? I'm the big dick? Oh my God. The last time Sean got physical with me was out of jealousy over how much I enjoyed Jamie Foxx's company. Hell, he enjoyed Jamie too. His jealousy was irrational and intense. It wasn't fair. He wanted to invite other men into our bedroom, but flipped when I connected with anyone else. "Damn, you're quiet tonight," he remarked, pulling me back to the present. A burning question nagged at me since I walked into that office. "What does Chris think of this?" He shot me a cool glance. His fat ass better keep making music. Just then, a third guest was escorted over by security. Sean motioned for him to sit. The waiter approached Sean Carter and asked, "What would you like?" "No, thank you," I said, and then smiled at Carter. "Hey, Carter." I took a sip of my drink. The Shuns might share a bed occasionally, but thankfully, I was never invited to join them. Carter turned to Sean. "I thought we were meeting in private." Sean shrugged nonchalantly. "I had to discuss something with her. It's fine. Go ahead." He had this kind of power that made Carter shift uncomfortably in his chair. "It's true," Carter began. "Chris and Pac were about to start their own label." Sean slammed his fists against the table, shouting, "Doesn't anyone have any effing loyalty?" Carter, unfazed, replied, "Well, that's not happening now, right?" Sean peered at Carter with a mix of distrust and frustration. "Why the F are you so eager to share this with me? Chris is your man. You're stabbing him in the back?" Carter responded indignantly, "First, I'm tired of being that nigger's son. I need to come out from under his damn shadow." Sean's expression softened slightly. "Okay, I respect that." Carter pressed on. "On top of that, this nigger's making that move, and it should have been with me." Sean studied Carter, clearly weighing his options. "Pop put Chris on. You know this. What's this really all about, Carter? Don't effing try to play me." The Jay-Z of today wasn't born yet. This younger, shunned Carter was clearly in over his head. Cornered, he finally spilled it. "I want his spot." Ambition. Now that was a man Sean could work with. He made a grandiose gesture toward Carter. "Waiter, get this MFing whatever he wants." Carter smiled, clearly feeling a newfound sense of empowerment. Chapter 8. Kadada. Kadada Jones, an actress, model, and fashion designer, was Tupac Shakur's fiancée and the daughter of record producer Quincy Jones and actress Peggy Lipton. Being around celebrities was just part of life for me, and meeting Kadada was one of those serendipitous events. As time went on, we became close, we shopped together, shared laughter, and enjoyed each other's company. It was around this time that I also met Kimora. Those were the days, or so I thought. Our conversations were filled with girl talk, and the fact that she was dating someone I had previously been involved with didn't create any jealousy between us. No, I never became intimate with Kadada. Kimora's jealousy was too fierce for that. Yes, Kadada was aware of my relationships with Kimora and Sean. We shared everything openly and honestly. It was a genuine friendship, except I couldn't be completely open anymore. Sean made sure of that. Kadada and Pac were the ultimate couple. He was always so laid back and undeniably sexy, while she radiated beauty and fun. Before the tension and conflicts erupted, we all hung out together, enjoying good vibes. But everything changed after Pac's shooting and the suspicions surrounding Sean and Jimmy. The atmosphere between Kadada and me wasn't always harmonious after that. Then came that night. Award shows were nothing new for us. We spent hours getting ready. Men groomed us, stylists chose our outfits, and makeup artists worked their magic. This was simply how things operated. We had access to the best stylists in the business, and sometimes we would visit the studio to get our measurements taken. But this time, Kadada seemed different. I sensed something was wrong, but whenever I probed her about it, she clammed up. Finally, the day of the event arrived. Even though Sean was my man, Kadada's status as Quincy Jones's daughter and her connection to superstardom made me feel like I had nothing on her. Pac wasn't present, but when Kadada saw us, she came over to our table. We were all hanging out, and the vibes were great. Sean was confident he was going to clean up at this award show. He had nearly taken over the East Coast music scene. With all the hits he'd produced, it was practically a given. Bad Boy was already cementing its legacy, and Sean P Diddy Combs knew it well. As Kidada took a seat at our table, Sean smiled at her, but there was something about that smile that felt insincere. Soon enough, I would discover why. When he held a grudge, he became a different person. "Bad boy is gonna clean up tonight," Sean declared confidently. From across the table, Faith chimed in. "Hell yeah, that new stuff we're dropping is gonna have these niggas sick." Kidada signaled the waiter to refill her glass of ginger ale. As he poured, she said, "Pax music is gonna get some love too." Sean grimaced at her words. "Oh, come on, Sean. I know you two have your differences, but you have to admit he makes great music," she pressed. Sean cast a sidelong glance at me before taking another sip of his favorite cognac. "Bad boy has the hottest music on the effing planet, but I ain't trippin'. Everybody's gotta get their shine, right?" Kidada leaned in. "Sean, Tupac thinks you were involved in his shooting. You two were so close. You need to make this right." His indignation flared up immediately. "What the F would that nigga think I had anything to do with it?" Kidada countered. "Can you blame him?" Sean's irritation was palpable as he responded. "Hell yeah, I blame him. We had a good thing going, all of us. That nigga turned on me and then has the nerve to blame me for his shooting." The level of indignation he managed to project while denying any responsibility was surprising. I was taken aback for a moment before I interjected. Do we have to do this tonight? It's Sean's big night." Kimora, having heard the commotion, made her way over to our table. "Hey, everybody!" she said, flashing her big dimpled smile. I greeted her back, and Kidada looked relieved to see her. "Hey, what's up?" she said. "Hey, what up, Kimmy?" Kimora, never one to shy away from a topic, dove right in. "The whole place is buzzing about you accusing Sean of having pack shot. Y'all are kinda, loud," she laughed. Kidada appeared embarrassed, glancing around to see everyone staring and whispering, but she wasn't about to back down. In fact, she doubled down. "Anyone here not talking about it ain't real anyway." "All right, honey, we don't have to do this here," I said, trying to diffuse the escalating tension. But Kidada was determined to make her point. "Oh, let's not worry about hurting Sean Puffy Combs' feelings. He only had one of the most prolific rappers ever shot." Sean's fists clenched at his sides. If this had been anyone else, things could have spiraled out of control. But Kidada was Quincy Jones's daughter. Sean was a feared figure in the streets, but he had no desire to cross someone like Quincy. Kidada could speak freely, knowing Sean wouldn't retaliate against her. Christopher and Mary exchanged glances, their protective instincts kicking in as they began to rise from their seats to support Sean. But he quickly motioned for them to stay put, clearly not wanting to escalate the situation further. They sat back, helplessly observing the chaos unfold as Kidada launched into her tirade. "You're not safe in the streets, Sean. You think you're untouchable?" Kimora, noticing the tension, turned almost crimson. She reached for Kidada's hand. "I gotta go to the restroom," she said, attempting to intervene. Kidada, unwilling to be silenced, yanked her hand away. "Let go of me." Kimora, trying to maintain control, spoke to her firmly, as if addressing a child throwing a tantrum. "Die!" Kidada turned, incredulous. "What?" Kimora nodded towards the crowded room, and Kidada looked around, her resolve faltering. Kimora softened her tone. "Let's go powder our nose." Kidada, still seething, nodded with a grimace, casting a sharp look back at Sean as they walked away. As the attention began to fade, I turned to Sean. "You okay?" He didn't answer immediately, surveying the room and noticing that the buzz had died down. He stood to retrieve a picture from Kidada's table, pouring himself a drink from it. I watched in confusion as he glanced around again, ensuring no one was watching, before slipping the picture beneath the table. What was he up to? Then, I heard the unmistakable sound of liquid being poured into liquid. Oh my God. Was he peeing in the picture? He grinned at me as he pulled the picture back from under the table, finally responding, "I'm good." He stood up and returned the picture to the table, leaving me in disbelief. I knew he had a temper, but this was downright disgusting. From that moment on, I vowed never to eat or drink anything after a fight. When Kidada and Kimora returned to their table, Sean quietly watched. "Which songs do you think they'll give me awards for?" he asked as Kidada poured herself another drink. Suddenly, Sean's bodyguard approached the table and I suspected he was preventing her from drinking too much, risking Sean's ire. "Babe, your catalog is crazy. It could be a lot of songs," I said, trying to soothe him. Sean's gaze remained fixed on Kidada's table throughout the night. As the evening wore on, I reflected on our wild times. After one of Sean's infamous parties, everyone was there. Not only did we engage in threesomes, but we also swapped partners. Our sex life was thrilling, allowing me experiences I'd never have had with a straight man. Kidada's remark about a straight man hung in the air as I continued. Sean did care about me, but it was becoming increasingly clear that his true preference leaned towards men. I was starting to feel like I was there more to satisfy Sean's wild desires than because he genuinely wanted to be with me. He was like Caesar, every woman's man and every man's woman. Surprisingly, I was becoming okay with it. That morning, I woke up and left the bedroom where I had spent the night with Jada Pinkett, just as Sean was emerging from another bedroom, the one he shared with his ex and Will Smith. Yes, his ex was there, and they often attended the parties. I caught sight of them snuggled together on the bed, and I was relieved I hadn't been invited into that room. The dynamics of the situation were complex. Sean smiled when he spotted me. "Good morning. Here at the orgies," he said, not bothering to feign affection. He didn't have to pretend with me, but he also couldn't walk straight. I knew exactly how he felt, intimately. We had shared sessions that pushed boundaries, exploring each other's bodies in ways I had never experienced before. Knowing Quincy would soon be awake, I said, "I'm going to get ready." "Let's have a cup of coffee first," he replied, signaling that he wanted to talk. I didn't know what was coming, but I could sense the tension. He had been more volatile lately when things didn't go his way, and I had no desire to provoke a confrontation. So I took a seat. Just then, X emerged from the room. Sean was in boxers, while X was in his birthday suit. "Morning," X greeted me, turning to close the door, revealing a dried stain on his back. He sauntered over, pulled out a chair next to us, and lit up a blunt, the smoke curling in the air. "Who is this X dude?" I wondered silently as Sean stretched, a grin spreading across his face. "This is X. East Coast, West Coast beef is more lucrative than I thought, but it's getting dangerous," Sean remarked. X looked surprised. "Business first thing in the morning. Damn, you're on it, huh? But you know you don't have anything to worry about. You got a pass, daddy." Sean seemed to have something important to discuss with X, saying, "I can't protect everybody, especially if someone is no longer going to be on my label." X didn't seem taken aback. "Sean, are you saying what I think you're saying?" "It's taxing on my resources to protect people," Sean continued, his tone serious. "Someone who isn't 100% on my team can't be 100% of my protection." What was going on? What did Sean want from me? This morning was shaping up to be far more than I had anticipated, and I needed to leave before Quincy started looking for me. Meanwhile, X pressed for clarity. "So, to be clear, if something happens," he made quotation marks with his fingers, "to one of your artists who's leaving your label, any way it could be considered." Wait a minute. Were they talking about Biggie? Was Sean implying he wouldn't protect Biggie? At that moment, I felt too young, too naive, and too hungover to grasp the gravity of the conversation. This wasn't just about a lack of protection. It was about something far more sinister. A hit. Where had this conversation even come from this morning? But the older, wiser version of me understands now what I couldn't grasp all those years ago. Sean was finally revealing the real reason behind his decision. The world was about to lose Biggie. X laughed. "You a cold mother effer." Sean retorted, "Why the hell should I protect someone who isn't going to stick around? I made him. That nigga should be worshipping the ground I walk on." I could feel Sean's ego surfacing, and I wanted to escape the chaos, but my instincts told me to tread carefully. My next move had to be calculated. I didn't want to be involved in any of this, even indirectly, but I felt pulled into the center of it all. What if this conversation ever came to light? Would I be seen as an accomplice? Yet, I couldn't just sit back and pretend everything was fine. Bashan? He hasn't left yet. They're just rumors. Are you really going to let him die over some rumors? Sean glared at me, the hurt evident in his voice as he replied, I know when I'm being betrayed. I'm not killing anyone, but I won't protect someone who doesn't have my back. 150%. Fuck that. This was spiraling out of control. My mind raced, trying to think of a way to reach him. Sean, he's bringing in so much money. You've invested so much in him. Are you really going to throw that all away? That's when he revealed just how calculated this meeting was. If he leaves, he takes all the money I invested into creating him. Sean sighed. But if he can't protect himself and something bad happens, the money I would make off his death will eclipse everything we've made so far. I was taken aback. Sean, he continued, he's worth more to me dead than alive. X chimed in. I get that, fam. A lot of people want Biggie dead too. Without your protection, he doesn't stand a chance in Cali. Biggie is going to die. This was insane, and I dared not speak another word. I suspected I knew who X was, but I kept that to myself until I had more evidence. Then I had an idea. Sean smiled and walked over to a safe hidden behind a picture. He pulled out a bag marked with X's name and said, That's why you're worth your weight in gold. You understand me. X grinned. Sean, I love you, baby. You know I got your back. Your problems are my problems. I'll make sure my people take care of your people. I needed to get out of there. This was madness. I tried to leave again. Sean, I need to go get Quincy before he wakes up. Sean looked at me and said, It's getting late. Give him a kiss for me. I felt a rush of relief. I needed to get out of there. Thank God X always has something to say. I'd love to meet the little tyke sometime. Not a chance in hell. There was something about that guy that creeped me out. I forced a smile. That would be great. As I made my exit, I couldn't help but wonder, who the heck is X? I had a strong dislike for him, but my feelings were overshadowed by the turmoil in my relationship with Sean. At this point, things had been off and on for quite a while, and we were definitely off right now. He'd put his hands on me again, this time for something that was purely fabricated in his mind. When the phone rang, I answered, Hi, Sean. We've been broken up for a while this time, he said. Yeah, you could say that. I don't want anyone to know about my ex. He paused, searching for the right word. Proclivities? I finished for him. So, you don't want people to know you're gay? Sean exploded. See, that's why I lose control on you. I calmly stated, Goodbye, Sean. Wait, he screamed. What, Sean? I'm sorry. Okay, you're always fucking sorry. He took a deep breath. I have to do something to cover myself. I sighed. Do whatever the hell you want, Sean. When you see this in the news, it's not real. His statement caught me off guard. What was he talking about? I'm only doing it for the press, he continued. Doing what, Sean? After a long pause, he said, Publicly, I'm going to be dating someone else. A video girl? I laughed incredulously. Why would you do that? I have to cover myself. I felt anger rise within me. But more than that, I was furious at myself. Why was I getting jealous? I was actually comparing myself to video vixens in my mind. Sure, they were thick, but what about my body? Did he really prefer light-skinned girls with big butts from the videos? I quickly dismissed that thought. I knew he liked me just the way I was. As I regained my composure, I asked, Why the hell are you telling me this? He sighed. I wanted you to find out from me first. Like I give a shit. Then he hit me with his favorite line. You know I love you. It was getting old and I thought, here we go again. Love is a big, strong word. I was tired of him tossing it around whenever it suited him. He was using it while discussing dating someone else. You don't hit people you love, Sean. Love doesn't hurt. He sucked his teeth and replied, "Come on, are you serious? That shit's for children. We aren't in fucking high school. Sometimes things happen. That doesn't mean I don't love you. I wouldn't hit you if I didn't care." Wait, that sounded wrong. You said exactly what you meant. He took a breath, and an awkward silence hung in the air. I realized that my lingering on the phone gave him the upper hand. He was cautious now, reluctant to lose that power. Kim, no one who doesn't matter to me can bring out that kind of emotion. I wanted to retort, "Is that how you talk to guys after using butt plugs?" But there was a line I knew better than to cross. Instead, I replied, "You say that while you're dating some other girl. That's just for the public eye." I was done. My voice betrayed me, revealing the irritation simmering beneath the surface. "Whatever, Sean. Do what you need to do. Leave me alone. I'm never giving up on us." His voice cracked, trying to reel me back in. I met his emotional manipulation with what little resolve I could muster, but deep down, I didn't even believe my own words. "Sean, there is no us anymore. Goodbye. Tell Quincy I miss him." His attempt to regain control was infuriating. "Goodbye, Sean," I said with newfound conviction before hanging up. Manipulative bastard. For a while I was relieved to see Sean gone. I was getting older and the wild sex parties had lost their allure. It was time for me to slow down. Quincy was growing up, and I couldn't shake the worry that rumors would eventually find their way back to him. What would he think of me? Chris was about to head to California, and I had a gut feeling that Deanna Wallace was on the verge of becoming an orphan. I wanted no part in that. As I sat contemplating my life in my robe, sipping wine on a Friday evening, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door to find Shun standing there. My heart skipped a beat. I was shocked, but quickly masked my surprise with a forced smile. Shit, I'm way more intoxicated than I thought. Sean entered, glancing around suspiciously, before turning to me with a smile. "You haven't been returning my calls." "I'm fine." It was clear he wasn't here out of concern. He was checking to see who else might be in my life. Sean had always been controlling like that. Despite not being together anymore and him dating someone else, he stepped into the living room as if he owned the place. I tried to end the visit swiftly, but it came out harsher than I intended. "So, since you can see I'm fine, you can let me go to bed now." Part of me wanted him to stay, but as he settled in, I had no choice but to follow him into the living room. Sean's next question was direct. "Is someone else waiting for you?" "No, but Sean, we're not together. You're dating someone else, and I can fuck whoever I choose." With that, Sean became enraged. He forcefully slammed me to the ground and pulled out a .22, placing it on the end table beside us. Then turning to me with an unsettling calmness, my heart raced in fear. My voice trembled as I pleaded, "Sean, please stop. Quincy is here." How did we get to this point? How had it come to him threatening me with a gun in my own living room? He knelt down, getting right in my face, and declared, "You're mine. You don't have a choice in this now. I can't live without you." He stood up, trying to compose himself while I trembled, my heart pounding. "Sean, that's not love," I whimpered. He picked up the gun and cocked it, looking at me thoughtfully. "Have you ever heard the saying, 'If I can't have you, no one can'?" "Sean, please don't. Please, Quincy will hear." He smiled as he put the gun away. "Oh, this is just for dramatic effect. I would never shoot you. If I were going to kill you, no one would trace it back to me. You know how many people I've had to deal with over the years? It would be quiet. Something in your food or drink." Oh my God. Something in my food or drink. The realization hit me hard. I wouldn't shoot you. Do you understand? I could only nod, tears streaming down my cheeks. He reached down to help me up, and I felt like I was in a nightmare. He was a terrifying monster, and now he wanted to smooth things over. What choice did I have but to go along with it? "Listen, baby, I don't ever want to hurt you. You know I really love you. If I didn't, I would have moved on. The thought of living my life without you is just too hard. If anyone ever tried to hurt you, I would kill them." My back ached from where he had slammed me against the table, but all I could do was nod in agreement through my tears, which he wiped away. He glanced toward Quincy's room. "Let me say goodbye." "No, Sean, please," I urged, thinking quickly. "He has to get up in the morning." Sean looked at me with an unreadable expression, studying my reaction. "Okay, I'm gonna go." Nervously, I walked him to the front door, relief washing over me that this was finally over. He kissed me, and despite my desire to push him away, I couldn't refuse. "Give Quincy a kiss for me," he said. I tried to maintain my composure as I replied, "Sure, Sean." As he opened the door, his bodyguard, waiting outside, escorted him to the car. Why did he need a bodyguard at my front door? What was he anticipating? After I shut the door, I took a deep breath and poured myself another drink. For tonight, the nightmare was over. I sipped my wine and let the tears flow. Over the next few days, he sent dozens of flowers and showered Quincy with expensive toys. But he didn't want me. He wanted me to keep his secret. I felt trapped. He had the authorities under his thumb. How could I go to them? This was like something out of a gangster movie. How deep did his power reach? The FBI? The CIA? Who was uncorrupted or wouldn't be silenced by their superiors? Was there anyone who could help me and my child? He found his way back to my bed, and I felt there was no escape. Chapter 12. A Mama's Love. The calamity that followed the death of Biggie rocked the East Coast, and it shook me to my core as well. Sean could have stopped it. He was complicit, a contributor to the chaos. He knew what was coming and chose to do nothing. This was his friend. Or at least, that's how he wanted the public to perceive their relationship, and to him we were just a couple experiencing the usual ups and downs. I probably came off as just a gold digger, but the truth was that I had grown accustomed to not having a choice. I recognized it now for what it was. Stockholm Syndrome. I had become his puppet at his beck and call. And somehow, I had become comfortable in that role. Quincy had everything a child could desire, except for the normalcy of a stable parental figure. This is why this chapter is so significant for me. A mother's love is powerful and real. One night, I found myself out with my boyfriend. Yes, we were back together. We were enjoying dinner when, to my shock, Ms. Wallace approached our table. Sean glanced at security, giving Ms. Wallace the nod to come over. "Hello, Sean?" "Hi, Kim," she said, her smile masking the weight of the situation. I did my best to smile back, but it was difficult knowing I was sitting across from the mother of my boyfriend's friend, the man who had been killed. "Hi, Ms. Wallace," I managed to say, my voice strained. Sean mirrored my greeting, maintaining his facade. "What can I do for you? When I got your call, it sounded urgent." The entire scenario felt surreal, the creepiest experience of my life. Ms. Wallace looked at Sean with desperation in her eyes. "I know this isn't your problem, but things have gotten really hard. I was hoping you could send some of that money Chris made with you my way." Sean shook his head, feigning sympathy. "That's not something I can just do. There are attorneys and accountants involved. Can I maybe help you out with a little something to get you through?" "I haven't seen how much Chris left. It's been almost 2 years. Just how long is this going to take?" Ms. Wallace pressed, frustration creeping into her tone. Sean sighed, clearly irritated. "These things are difficult, Ms. Wallace. I don't know. The attorneys don't make it easy." Ms. Wallace pushed further, her voice steady despite the emotion. "I don't understand what's so hard about it. He worked for you. He earned that money. Where is it?" Sean shook his head, pretending to empathize. "It's not like I can just hand you his money. You're entitled to certain amounts, and they're just trying to figure out what that amount is. I don't mean to sound cruel, but it wouldn't be fair for me to just give you a large sum. You got rich off my son, and now you're keeping all his money." Keeping his composure, Sean continued, "I'm afraid business isn't that cut and dry, Ms. Wallace. I pay for publishing publicity. To be straightforward, Ms. Wallace, Chris probably owes me money. I won't know until everything gets sorted out. The anger in Ms. Wallace's voice barely concealed her pain, perhaps even magnifying it as she delivered her final pained words. "You bastard." Sean didn't flinch. "Look at the contract," he said. "I'm honestly trying to get him as much as possible out of it, but I have investors. I can't just take money that doesn't belong to him and start giving it away." Ms. Wallace exploded. "You know damn well Chris didn't owe you a thing." Sean held her gaze, unwavering. He would have started making a profit after a few years. His money from album sales, studio time, music, videos, publishing, and marketing would have come from doing shows. "I'm sorry he isn't here to make that money. I miss him." Her response was cold and piercing. "Did you kill my son?" For a moment, Sean was momentarily taken aback, silenced by the accusation. "Ms. Wallace," he began, but she cut him off, her voice quivering with emotion. "Did you?" "No, of course not," he replied, but there was something unsettling about his demeanor. She regarded him with a mixture of anger and sorrow, her voice carrying a menacing tone that sent chills down my spine. "Only a mother can feel what I feel. I don't believe you, Sean." He looked at her, a sadness in his eyes that I recognized as false. In that moment, he could have convinced anyone without context. "I'm sorry to hear that," he replied, his tone dripping with insincerity. Back then, I mistook his performance for compassion, but now I saw it for what it truly was, the manipulation of a sociopath. With no more words to say, Ms. Wallace stood up, her frustration palpable, and walked away. Sean watched her exit, disbelief etched across his face. Not knowing how to fill the void left by her departure, I placed my order. The dinner that night stretched on in silence. I couldn't shake the worry for Ms. Wallace's safety. Sean was at his most dangerous when he felt cornered, his animalistic instincts kicking in. Though she couldn't physically threaten him, her accusations posed a very real threat. If she went public with her claims, Sean's carefully constructed image would crumble. I knew all too well the lengths he would go to protect that facade. Chapter 13. Have some faith. The truth was that Sean was a complete control freak, absolutely the worst kind. Of all his methods of maintaining control, this was one of the most despicable. One evening we were in the bad boy office, sitting in the lounge area, enjoying a meal. Sean puffed on one of his large cigars when Faith Evans entered and joined us. She appeared relaxed, greeting us with, "Hey guys." I had never felt any negative vibes from Faith. She exuded warmth. We didn't discuss the wild times the three of us had shared at one of Sean's parties. I hugged her, smiling. "Hey girl, what's up?" Sean looked at her with a grin, asking, "Hey, what brings you out?" She turned to Sean, addressing him directly. "Look, when you asked me to hook up with Chris, I understood you needed to control him. I felt honored that you would choose me to monitor one of your most valuable assets," Faith said, a hint of pride in her voice. Sean laughed. "Honestly, I knew you would be good for him, make the big man feel loved." But Faith's expression darkened. "I don't feel good about all this, Sean." I recognized that familiar glint in Sean's eyes, the one that hinted he was about to explode. Faith treaded carefully. "Sean, you know I'm as loyal as they come." Leaning forward, Sean unintentionally exuded menace as he spoke in a low tone. "Yeah, but Sean, Chris and I had a child together." He leaned back, letting out a deep breath. "I'm gonna take care of you. You're not like Chris. You're loyal." Tears glistened in Faith's eyes as she replied, "He didn't have to die." The atmosphere grew tense. Did she suspect? Was she probing for the truth behind Biggie's death? I wanted to ask, but I knew better than to voice those thoughts. This was a precarious situation. Sean sighed. "He didn't. Don't get me wrong, I miss him, but he was leaving me anyway. No one cares about my pain." Classic narcissistic Sean, always making it about himself. I felt sickened momentarily, but then his next words struck a chord within me. I wanted to share this pain with him. He was my man. Faith's anger flared, but she held it in check, choosing her words carefully. "Sean, you have friends you share things with." Sean leaned forward again, his tone sharp and malicious. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Chris had no one, only you. In an instant, Sean lost it. That fat? He cut himself off, visibly seething. Those mother were going to try to start their own label and compete with me. Me. After all I did for that fat? Nah, I wasn't using my resources to protect that mother. No way! As Faith began to cry, Sean softened slightly, his demeanor shifting. Look, I didn't hate him. I was hurt, but I didn't hate him. I'll make sure you and CJ are taken care of. Without a word, Faith stood up to leave. As she turned away, Sean called out softly, Faith. She ignored him, and he tried again, Faith. She exited quietly, leaving Sean staring after her, his expression a mix of confusion and frustration. Damn, he said, and I was at a loss for words. Sean had just told Faith he wouldn't protect Chris because he was leaving Bad Boy. From a business standpoint, I understood Sean's reasoning. If Chris was planning to create competition, why would Sean invest resources to safeguard him? So, I hugged Sean, but deep down, I knew he didn't have to send Chris to California. I wondered if he realized he had effectively sentenced him to death. Tears welled in Sean's eyes as he embraced me tightly, his voice strained. How the hell am I the bad guy? I bust my ass to make everyone comfortable, and I'm just supposed to let people walk all over me. As I held him, trying to offer comfort, I whispered, No, baby. In a moment of vulnerability, he took me right there on the couch. Stockholm Syndrome, I thought to myself. Chapter 14. I was Sean. That evening, I found myself at Sean's house, with Quincy staying over at a friend's. It was a rare moment of solitude for us until the doorbell rang. Sean got up to answer it, and I heard a woman's voice rising in anger. It was Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo. Sean, what the hell? She yelled. Sean, ever the picture of calm, replied, Relax, baby. Why the hell did you have to start shooting? Isn't that what we have bodyguards for? In these heated situations, I usually stayed quiet, just listening and playing my role. I hadn't been following the news for the past day or so, but I knew it would soon dominate every conversation. As I stepped into the foyer to see what was happening, Jennifer exploded at me. What's going on? What's going on? This idiot shut up the damn club! My jaw dropped as I looked back and forth between them. Sean, trying to soothe her, said, Jen, you gotta calm down. But she wasn't having it. Calm down? You shot a bunch of innocent people, Sean. He placed a hand on her forearm, a classic bonding technique. He was shrewd in handling her, even with me. It was intimate contact without being too personal, aimed at disarming her. Still, Jennifer wasn't swayed. Why do you think Biggie's replacement will take the fall for you? Biggie's replacement? My mind raced. Was she talking about Shine? Yes, effing Shine, she snapped, not even glancing my way. Relax. The situation is under control, Shine said calmly, but I could sense the arrogance beneath his cool exterior. Jennifer's expression was one of disbelief. They contacted my attorney for my statement, and there are a lot of witnesses, Shine. There's no way you're going to get away with this. Shine laughed, his confidence infuriating. You doubting me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Sean, what could you offer him that would make him take the fall for you? What the hell? Jennifer chimed in, and what if he falters halfway through his sentence and starts talking? Sean replied, as calm as ever, he won't do that. People in jail don't cross connected people on the outside. Jennifer looked defeated, realizing the stakes. You'll kill him too? How much did she know? Look, I'm not going to threaten anyone, Sean said, his voice steady. Shine is smart and loyal. He knows how this works. When he gets out, he'll be well taken care of. Jennifer spoke defiantly. Sean, they want to question me. I'm not perjuring myself. I am not going to jail over this. I admired Sean for how composed he seemed, but my resolve had begun to crumble. I felt a pang of sympathy for Jennifer. She kept catching one bad break after another, and this one was particularly devastating. With an air of confidence, Sean replied, "Relax, come in and have a drink. Have your lawyers call me. You'll never see the witness stand. I promise." Jennifer, still uncertain, pressed him. "How could you possibly know that?" Sean flashed a smile and said, "With my confession and the witness accounts, the cops won't need much else. Your lawyer's statement will suffice." Jennifer's next concern surfaced. "My attorney, Sean, he's good, but he won't do this." Beaming with the kind of confidence only a man with vast connections could possess, Sean responded, "Sure he will." Jennifer shook her head, her defiance still evident. "Sean, you don't know him." Sean's unshakable confidence dominated the conversation. As he smiled at her, he reassured, "I got this." "Are you sure?" she asked, skepticism creeping in. With a wink, Sean replied, "My attorneys handle situations like this. Give him my number too." Jennifer seemed wary. "You're not going to threaten my attorney?" Sean laughed. "No, of course not. Money talks, baby." He turned to me and said, "Take her inside and pour her a drink. I have a question of my own. But you were going to make Shine the label's go-to man. What now?" Shine's disappointment was palpable as he answered. He had the voice, but his flow, well, artists like him are a dime a dozen. Looking at Jennifer, he added, "He's not a once-in-a-lifetime find like Jennifer Lopez." His charm seemed to lift the mood, and Jennifer blushed slightly. "Let's grab that drink," Sean continued. "Let me handle this attorney situation. Relax, don't worry." He left the foyer to settle into the living room. That night, he attempted to create a threesome scenario, but it didn't pan out. Not that time. Chapter 15, Queen Bitch. Kimora Simmons and I decided to go out for drinks. She looked at me seductively and I felt a rush of attraction. We planned to head back to my place afterward, but suddenly, after a sip of my drink, nausea hit me hard. I excused myself and barely made it to the ladies' room. When I returned, Kimora asked, "You feeling okay?" "I'm fine," I replied. "I've just been under the weather the last couple of days. I think I'll head home." She crooked an eyebrow and said, "Your breasts are looking kind of plump there, girl." Embarrassed, I whispered, "Not in public." "Are you pregnant?" she asked simply, catching me off guard. I was completely taken aback. Why would you even say that? Kimora let the question linger, seemingly reveling in the shock on my face. I could almost hear her thinking, "Wait for it. Wait for it." Then the realization hit me. She paused, allowing me a moment to process what she had just suggested. "So, what are you going to do?" Confusion swirled in my mind. "What do you mean, what am I going to do? If it's not Sean's, then fine. But if it is..." As the initial shock faded, the weight of the situation began to settle heavily upon me. "I'd better take a test," I finally managed to say. She looked at me with pity, shaking her head slightly. "Damn, girl. Good luck. After what he did to Chris, I wouldn't want to be in your position." The desire that had been in her eyes before my nausea had vanished, replaced by something more serious and heavy. As I started to rise, her words hit me harder, causing me to hesitate. She looked at me squarely and said, "Ain't nobody stupid, girl." I was at a loss for words. Despite everything I knew, a lingering question gnawed at me. Did Puffy intentionally kill Chris? She brought me back to reality with a firm go. Unsure how to respond, but knowing I had to confront my situation, I said, "I'll hit you up." She sighed and simply repeated, "Good luck." So everyone knew she had some involvement in taking Notorious out. The games in this world were painfully obvious. Chapter 16. Christian. The next day, I sat lost in thought on my couch when the doorbell rang. I opened it to let Sean in, a wave of apprehension washing over me. As we made our way to the living room, Quincy was asleep nearby, oblivious to the tension. Sean looked genuinely concerned. "What's so urgent?" he asked, his brow furrowing. I struggled to find the right words, and before I knew it, I blurted, "I'm pregnant!" The air in the room felt thick, almost suffocating. He fell silent, and I wondered what was going through his mind. Finally, he asked the obvious question. "Are you sure?" I was on the pill. "I'll take care of it," I said rapidly, my words spilling out in a rush. "I just wanted you to know." His response caught me off guard. "That's wonderful. This is great." I stared at him in disbelief. "Huh? You're not mad?" He laughed, a sound that both confused and strangely relieved me. "Mad? No. Why would I be mad at such wonderful news? I'm going to be a dad with the woman I love bearing my child. What could be better?" His excitement was infectious as he jumped on the phone, calling one of his best friends. I could hear Will Smith congratulating him in the background. "Yeah, definitely hold on, Kim, baby." I was still in awe that he wasn't angry. I'll admit I had braced myself for an outburst, so when he didn't explode, relief washed over me. "Absolutely, we have to have a party." His enthusiasm was contagious, and I found myself getting swept up in it too. "Yes, a gender reveal," I chimed in, but he cut me off. "Of course, we're doing all of that, but everyone's going to want to sleep with you right before you give birth." My heart sank. "Everybody is going to want to what?" Sean continued with his infectious excitement. "Well, not everyone, Will, Jada, X. "Sean, I'm having your baby," I protested, but he waved my concerns away. "It'll be fine." Overwhelmed, I couldn't help but start crying. Sean's tone shifted. He grew quiet on the phone, then spoke softly. "I'll call you back." He hung up, taking my hand gently. "Baby, I never asked anything from you." Through my tears, I struggled to comprehend his words. "Sean," I tried to interject, but he cut me off again. "I provide everything anyone could ever want. Do you want for anything?" Sobbing, I replied, "No?" But he pressed on. "This is the kind of thing I have to do to keep giving you this comfortable lifestyle, where you live in luxury and get to be on TV shows and in movies. I know you don't want this, but do you want all of it to go away?" All I could manage was a soft whimper. "No?" "Then we've got to do this," he continued softly. "But Sean, I don't believe in all this spiritual crazy stuff. We got here because you're brilliant, not because of sex parties." "So?" he replied unbothered. "Do you trust me?" I did. My soul felt so broken, but I nodded. "Yes." He sighed, a mixture of relief and determination. "Then let's do what we need to do to keep what we have." As I nodded again, he pulled me into a hug. "Thank you, baby. We're going to have a beautiful baby." That night, he ordered me some food, and I cried myself to sleep. I was facing the terrifying reality of being part of a gangbang while 9 months pregnant. I wanted my child to have a better life, one free from the chaos surrounding me. My baby would have a strong biblical name, something to protect his soul. Chapter 17, Broken Promises. I still can't believe how long this managed to stay out of the media. Sean had become increasingly abusive, and only his inner circle knew the extent of it. The artists around him were too frightened to speak up. He had amassed so much power that no one dared to challenge him. Puff Daddy was a kingpin. This Monday morning, Quincy was at school and our son Christian was with the nanny. I still had to earn a living because I loved being in front of the camera, and I'd just landed a role in a new movie. Sean was coming over to celebrate, just the two of us. I was in the bathroom when he stormed in. We were supposed to go out for dinner, but he was in a foul mood. "What the fuck's he?" he yelled. I had to walk on eggshells as I emerged, only to find him holding flowers. "You brought me flowers?" I smiled, momentarily hopeful. "No," he shouted. "So who the fucks are they from?" Bewildered, I replied, "I don't know, probably just a fan." He threw the attached card at me, and as I bent down to pick it up, he slapped me so hard I hit the ground. "Who the fuck were you with the other night?" he yelled. My eyes fell to the card lying beside me, reading, "That night was amazing. We must do it again." I tried to explain. Sean, it was just coffee with the producer. It was nothing. He hurled the flowers aside, furious. That's not how this works. You have my child. You don't touch anyone unless I allow it. Calm down, I pleaded. It was just coffee, Sean. Just business. But he glared at me and demanded, "Who the fuck is this producer?" Desperately trying to soothe him, I replied, "From the movie, babe. Just talking about the role and maybe starring in another project." But my words only fueled his rage. "He wants to put the move on my Fing family," he screamed at the top of his lungs. "My Fing family?" With a force that surprised me, he flipped the heavy table over, shattering it. "Sean, please," I cried. But he roared back, "What? You didn't tell him to back off?" "Sean, I didn't..." Then, without warning, he struck me with a chair. I don't remember anything after that until I woke up in a hospital room. My arm was in a cast, suspended from a sling, and pain radiated through my face. My eyebrow throbbed and my lip felt raw. As I came to, the first face I saw was the man responsible for my state. "How are you feeling?" Sean asked, his voice laced with concern. "Stay away from me," I replied, the words barely escaping my lips. "I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me," he said, his voice dripping with false remorse. "Save it for the lawyers. Stay away from me," I shouted, aware that we were in a private room where no one would hear my cries. I could scream as if my life depended on it, but it wouldn't matter. If I rang for assistance, I knew I wouldn't get any. "I was just so jealous. You know how I am," he continued, taking hold of my uninjured arm. "You have our beautiful son, our family." At that moment, I had reached my breaking point. "The one you slutted out right before giving birth? Are you fucking kidding me? Stay away from me. Don't come near me or my kids." Sean continued to plead, "I'm sorry, baby, I promise." But I was done hearing that same tired refrain. I spoke through gritted teeth. "If you come near me or my kids again, I'm calling the cops." A flash of anger flickered across his face. "You would use my kid to threaten me?" He quickly caught himself. "I understand you're angry." I glared at him, cutting him off. "I'm serious, Sean." He spoke in a bland tone, devoid of energy. "And tell them what? That you had a car accident. They'll pity you. That you hit your head." He was trying to make me look crazy, knowing they would believe him. He was a kingpin after all. "You're an effing bastard," I spat. For the next 6 months, Sean worked to worm his way back into my life and my bed. I was so damn stupid. And of course, I never got cast in either of those movies. From what I heard, the producer died of pneumonia. Did Sean kill him? Sean kept his word for a while, but eventually he didn't. I ended up pregnant again. He craved energy from that too. I vowed that would be my last sex party. My body would never be ravaged by so many people again, especially while I was pregnant. What if something happened to the twins? I wanted out. But when I tried dating someone else, they ended up dead from pneumonia. I knew Sean was behind it. It was no coincidence. If he got jealous of a guy, they died. I could be next. If I was going to get out of this alive, I needed to devise a plan to make him stay away from me. It was risky, but I had to take the chance. Sean had a vault where he kept videotapes of all his conquests. I started sleeping with him again. He had begun drinking heavily, which worked to my advantage. After he fell asleep, I'd sneak into the vault, grab a couple of tapes and take them home to make copies. I'd then swap them out for the next set a few days later. It took weeks to get them all copied, but he never suspected a thing. This was my way out. Some of the tapes revealed things I never would have expected. The gay parties were one thing, but young boys? Like Usher, Lil Bow Wow, Justin Bieber? I was horrified. Was he grooming Quincy? This had to end. I invited him over one day to confront him and finally end our on-again, off-again relationship. When he entered my house unannounced for the last time, I resolved that he would no longer have a key after today. I was in the kitchen sharing drinks with Kimora, feeling anxious about facing him alone. Sean walked in, smiling. "What's up, Kimmy?" "Hey, Kimora." I told Sean to sit down, and the tone in my voice made him look at me, visibly stung. "What's going on? What is this?" With a sense of determination, I replied, "Me taking my life back. We're done." He hesitated, confusion crossing his face. "Hold on. Wait a minute." I was so exhilarated that I barely registered his words. "No, no more. This is fucking over." He looked baffled, asking, "Where's all this coming from?" Disgust filled my voice as I said, "I got fucking footage, son." His confusion deepened. "What are you talking about?" Kimora chimed in with revulsion. "Wait! What the fuck is going on?" Sean stood up aggressively, but Kimora warned, "Don't make me call the cops." As Sean's anger began to rise, I simply nodded. "If anything happens to either of us, it gets released," he seethed, retorting, "After all I've done for you?" I don't think I've ever felt so happy as when I said those words. "Get out." Infuriated, he started to leave but turned back, his expression twisted with pure hatred. As he walked down the stairs, he suddenly lunged at me, knocking me down near the top. I was hurt, but Kimora screamed, "Stop!" As he loomed over me, I kicked at him, hitting his face. He tumbled down the stairs, too injured to get up. I called the cops. Kimora left before they arrived. When Sean was taken away, it was in an ambulance. I felt empowered, relieved. The days of Sean Combs had finally come to an end. Chapter 19. Finale. Things were okay for a while. I started dating again. It felt almost normal until I got serious with someone, and then he died of pneumonia. I knew it was Sean again. That's when I decided to write this book. A few days ago, my home was burglarized. Only my laptops were stolen. I was certain it was that bastard or his goons. Luckily, I had a copy in the cloud that I was able to download onto this new computer. As I continue writing now, I'll send this to the cloud as well. I'll distribute copies via email, and my Google Drive password will be attached so the missing chapters can be accessed easily. This book must get out. It must get out. There are so many more chapters to add. This outline is just a great start. I need to organize the rest of the chapters and add them in little by little. I plan on spending today working on exactly that, but right now I'm not feeling very well. Thank God the kids aren't here this weekend. I really need the rest. I'll call tomorrow to cancel our tentative plans for a meetup. When I spoke to her, she said, "Girl, that doesn't sound like the flu. You want to go to the hospital." But that didn't alarm me. "I just need some rest," I told her, and quickly hung up the phone. Why can't I reach my doctor? Why won't he pick up? I don't know. Lying in my bedroom, I called Sean, consumed by thoughts of my babies who were with that monster, the man I now suspect of doing this to me. Sean answered, his voice dripping with that familiar air of superiority. "Hello!" I screamed at him. "You bastard! I have your effing children." "What are you talking about? The kids are with me," he replied, feigning innocence. There was literally nothing I could do but ask, "Did you ever love me?" Instead of answering, he responded, "The most important thing to me in the world is loyalty." I couldn't believe it. What the fuck does that mean? I had to ask, even though I understood all too well. He continued his charade, mocking me with, "Is something wrong?" He was going to drag this game out to the bitter end. I asked one last time, "How could you?" With the same narcissism I had come to despise. He shot back, "How could I?" "Do what? I gave you everything. You went to someone else. You left me just like everybody else did." I yelled, "Look what you did to everyone around you." His anger fled. "So you're saying everyone leaves because of how I am? And you were going to expose me?" He had orchestrated my burglary. I knew it. I shouldn't have threatened him. I should have just published the book. I could die like Heavy D, Biggie, Pac, and so many others, all because he is a monster, plain and simple. Before hanging up, I shot back, "That's not the only copy, you fuck." Then I sent out a group text to let everyone know he got me. After that, I called 911. As I sat here waiting for the ambulance, I started writing this chapter. praying I would make it to the hospital. I don't feel like writing anymore. I might not be around to see it in print, but it's okay. I'm sending it out. He won't get away with this. I have to make my final words clear. Sean Combs will be exposed even if it costs me my life. My kids have always been my most cherished possessions. I want the world to know that. But more importantly, I want them to know. This is the end. This book answers so many questions we all had. As I reach the end of this gripping narrative, I find myself overwhelmed by a complex tapestry of emotions: anger, sadness, admiration, and hope. The journey through these pages has been nothing short of harrowing, revealing the intricate layers of betrayal, manipulation, and the desperate fight for freedom. The protagonist's courage in facing the darkest corners of her life is a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Reading about the toxic relationship with Sean Combs, I felt a deep sense of outrage at the manipulation and control that marked their interactions. It's a stark depiction of how love can twist into something sinister, how trust can morph into fear, and how someone we once held dear can become a source of our greatest pain. The protagonist's struggle to break free from this cycle of abuse resonated deeply, sparking reflections on the many individuals who find themselves entrapped in similar circumstances. There is something profoundly relatable about her quest for liberation. It speaks to the universal desire for agency and the right to reclaim one's narrative. As she faced her demons, both internal and external, I felt a sense of urgency, rooting for her to rise above the chaos. Her decision to document her truth is an act of defiance, a declaration that her story matters and must be heard. It challenges us as readers to confront uncomfortable truths about power dynamics in relationships and the often hidden struggles of those who seem to live in the shadows of their abusers. The moments of vulnerability where she wrestled with self-doubt and fear struck a chord. They remind us that even the strongest individuals can falter, that the path to healing is rarely linear. Her revelations about the manipulation and the calculated moves of her abuser brought forth a wave of empathy. It's a reminder that sometimes those we trust the most can be the ones who hurt us the deepest. Yet amidst the darkness, there is a profound message of hope. The protagonist's journey toward reclaiming her life is inspiring. Each act of rebellion against Sean's control signifies a step toward empowerment. A reminder that even in our lowest moments, we have the capacity to rise. Her determination to expose the truth and to ensure that her story is heard serves as a beacon for anyone who has ever felt silenced. The closing moments, where she expresses her commitment to her children and her desire to protect them from the cycle of abuse, resonate deeply. It's a poignant reminder that our struggles are not just our own, they ripple out to affect those we love. The promise to fight for a better future is a universal call to action, urging us to reflect on how we can support and uplift those who are still caught in their battles. As I set this book down, I am left with a sense of urgency to share this story, to amplify the voices of those who have been silenced. It challenges us to look beyond the headlines and the glamour, to delve into the real stories that lie beneath. It's a testament to the power of storytelling, of shedding light on the darkness, and of confronting the monsters that roam among us. This narrative has opened my eyes to the complexities of relationships marred by power and control. It has ignited a fire within me to stand up against injustice in all its forms. I am reminded that every story matters, and every voice deserves to be heard. In the end, this book is more than just a recounting of one woman's struggle. It's a powerful anthem for all who have faced adversity, a rallying cry for those who have been wronged, and a call for change. The echoes of her words will linger, reminding us all that resilience can be forged in the crucible of pain, and that hope can emerge even from the deepest darkness. However, it is essential to clarify that everything you have just read is intended for entertainment purposes only. This narration was not meant to prove anyone's guilt or innocence. It was simply shared for the enjoyment of fiction. As you reflect on this story, I encourage you to appreciate it as a work of art that, while rooted in the complexities of human emotion, remains a fictional narrative. Let us carry these lessons forward, ensuring that we never allow the stories of the brave to fade into silence.